Hi, boys and girls. Happy Thursday. Your job for reading today, as you're waiting on Mrs. Go to pull you for fluency testing to see how much you've grown with your reading this year, we are going to work on a nonfiction text over Australia. And then after we read this together, you will have a graphic organizer that looks like this, where you'll have to write facts about what you learned. So we're going to hold on to that, and I'll talk more about it later. So you need to make sure that you have this out in front of you. If you don't, you need to raise your hand and ask an adult nicely for it. We're going to read about Australia by the looks of the front cover. That's a real-life photograph, so this is going to be a nonfiction text. And we'll go ahead and get started. Your table of contents, make sure that you're following along on your own packet. We're going to read about where in the world is Australia. We'll read about the outback, yummy foods that they eat, the Great Barrier Reef, the Opera House, popular animals, famous landmarks, and there's a glossary at the very end. Okay, make sure that you follow along with me. Australia is the world's largest island, but it is the smallest inhabited continent. It is surrounded by the Indian, Pacific, and Southern Oceans. About 22 million people live in Australia. A lot of the country is covered by land known as the outback. We'll talk more about that word later on. It is also home to the largest coral reef in the world, known as the Great Barrier Reef. Australia's warm climate, so the warm weather, and beautiful beaches encourage people to enjoy the outdoors and sports such as swimming, sailing, cricket, and soccer or football. So here is a picture of the continent Australia. It's got cities, it's got rivers, it's got oceans around it. Here's the Indian Ocean, the Coral Sea up here, the Pacific Ocean, and yeah, there's just lots of different cities and places to visit in this continent. It's on the other side of the world from the United States. All right, let's keep going. Turn your page to 2, the outback. Let's learn about the outback. Much of the country of Australia is covered by land known as the outback. Most of Australia's population surrounds 6 major cities. This means that most of central and western Australia make up the outback. Even though the land looks very dry, it does get rain. It can even experience floods because the ground is so hard. The summer weather is extremely hot, but in the winter it can drop down to about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty cold. Some of the animals that can typically be found in the outback are snakes, scorpions, dingoes, and kangaroos. Tourism, so people visiting Australia, agriculture, which is farming, and mining are the popular means of making money for individuals in the outback. And here is a picture of the outback. It kind of looks like a desert to me. It's got rocks, grasses. I know that your picture is in black and white, so it's kind of hard to see all the colors, but that's what it looks like. All right, turn the page. Yummy foods. There's lots of pictures of the yummy foods. Here is meat pie. I know in the U.S. we eat a lot of fruit pies, but I guess they eat meat pie. Australians love their meat pie. This is a flaky pastry filled with meat and gravy. Sounds kind of good. Here is, make sure I'm just pronouncing it right, pavlova. This dessert was named after a ballerina because it is so light and airy. Whipped cream and fresh fruit make a delicious treat. That sounds good too. And then this is called Vegemite. This bread that was invented by a chemist, so someone that is a scientist, was invented by a chemist, is used on toasts, sandwiches, and much more. Okay, let's continue reading. The Great Barrier Reef. One of the 7 wonders of the world, the largest barrier island, is located off the east coast of Australia. It is home to 1,500 types of fish and 1,600 miles of coral. Did you know astronauts can even see the reef from space? Here is something that might surprise you. Coral is not a plant. It is an animal. The Great Barrier Reef is also home to a wide range of life, including fish, sea turtles, giant clams, seahorses, sea snakes, stingrays, sharks, and much more. Since 1985, the Great Barrier Reef has lost half of its coral due to climate change, so it is important that the world works to limit their negative impact on the reef. So there's lots of sea life that live on the Great Barrier Reef. Okay, page 5, the Opera House. Make sure that you're on the same page and you're following along. In 1959, construction of Australia's most recognizable building began. In 1955, a design competition was held for architects in order to find the perfect plan for a building. 10,000 workers helped to construct this amazing building that was completed in 1973. It ended up costing over $100 million to build the Opera House. The building has a total of 1,000 rooms, 3 restaurants, and 7 different performance areas, including a concert hall, theaters, and a recording studio. The building is very unique because the structure looks like it has sails from a boat. And you can see that right there. All right, let's keep going. Page 6. Popular animals. So kangaroos are marsupials that can be found in Australia or New Guinea. They carry around their babies, which are called joeys, in their pouches. They hop quickly on 2 legs or walk slowly on all 4 legs. Here is a wombat. I'm just going to paraphrase. It has sharp claws. They dig holes in the grasses. They live in burrows, kind of like prairie guard dogs. And they eat grasses and roots. We've read about koala bears earlier this week. They are also marsupials. They crawl on their mother's back when they're babies. They get about 2 to 3 feet tall, and they're sometimes mistaken for bears. They love to eat eucalyptus leaves. It's a type of plant. And then dingoes are famous Australian wild dogs that usually live in small packs. They have 5 or 6 pups at one time. You may hear their loud howl if you ever visit Australia. All right. This is the last one. Famous landmark. The 12 Apostles is a famous landmark off the coast of Victoria, Australia. The pillars are limestone stacks that were formed by erosion. Waves crash against the rock, slowly causing the rock to wear away. What's interesting about the name is that there were only 8 pillars altogether, and one of those has fallen recently, leaving 7 pillars. In 2005, one of the pillars that was 160 feet tall came crashing down into the ocean. And that's what that landmark looks like. All right, so we've read a lot of things. We've read about the food that people in Australia eat. We've learned about animals, some of their different places that are popular. So now your job is to get this graphic organizer. It says Australia Facts. I need you to use bullet points or a numbered list and give as many facts that you can about Australia. Notice that you don't have a lot of space to work with, so you need to make sure that you use neat and small handwriting. I want you to get at least 3 facts. And then this little page is for kangaroo facts. So list all the kangaroo facts that you can remember from the passage. If you need to look back or rewind this video or look back in your packet, you need to do that. All right, good luck and work hard. Bye, guys.